Everything you believe, everything you feel, everything you think is being tuned without your consent. From the moment you were born, you've been surrounded by vibrations. Some you could hear, some you couldn't, but all of them were shaping your mind, your emotions, your reality. And the worst part? You never knew it. You thought your thoughts were yours. You thought your choices were your own. But behind the scenes, frequencies have been nudging, guiding, and sometimes even hijacking your inner world. This isn't a metaphor. This is physics, biology, and control disguised as coincidence. The hum of electricity, the tuning of your favorite songs, the tones embedded in your devices, they're not just background noise. They're signals, messages, and sometimes they're weapons. There's a hidden world built on frequency, and it's been influencing you every single day of your life. The question isn't whether you've been affected, it's how deep the programming goes. And more importantly, how much of it you're ready to unlearn. You've been surrounded by sound since your very first breath. But what if those sounds weren't neutral? What if the frequencies you grew up with were chosen, not for your benefit, but for your compliance? From the lullabies played in your crib to the national anthem in your school auditorium, every tone you absorbed became part of your internal code, your behavioral script. You didn't notice it, because it was never meant to be noticed. That's the power of vibration. It works silently, beneath your awareness, shaping how you feel, how you move, what you trust, and who you become. The earliest form of programming isn't through words, it's through frequency. It's the school bell that interrupts your thoughts on cue. It's the ringtone that conditions a spike of dopamine every time your phone lights up. It's the jingle that makes you crave food you know is slowly killing you. These aren't just sounds, they're signals. They're embedded into your environment not for aesthetics, but for psychological entrainment. And that's not a conspiracy. It's how your nervous system works. Human biology is hardwired to respond to rhythm and vibration. Your heartbeat syncs with sound, your brainwaves shift based on tone. Entire mood states can be created or collapsed based on frequency. And someone, somewhere, understood this a long time ago. There's a reason ancient civilizations used chants, drums, and singing bowls to enter altered states of awareness. There's a reason temples were constructed with acoustics that could induce trance. Frequency has always been a doorway, one that opens both ways. It can elevate your consciousness or lock you in a cage. And over the past century, it's been used for the latter more often than the former. You were born into a frequency matrix, one that wasn't built to free your mind, but to hold it in place. One of the most overlooked examples, the shift from 432 Hz to 440 Hz in Western music tuning. At first glance, it sounds irrelevant, just 8, but the implications run deep. 432 Hz is in harmony with natural patterns, mathematical constants found in sacred geometry, planetary orbits, and the human body. It resonates with the heart, calms the mind, aligns the breath. But 440 Hz, it's dissonant, subtly stressful. It agitates. And yet, in 1953, it became the global standard. Why? Who benefits from a slightly more chaotic population, always mildly agitated, unconsciously uneasy? You tell me. Some things we've uncovered are too sensitive for YouTube. We share the rest inside Insights Academy, our free newsletter. Tap the link in the description to join and receive a limited-time copy of the Kybalion. No fluff, just truth. Now think about how much of your life is ruled by notification sounds, engineered to keep your attention locked into apps, designed to harvest your focus. Or emergency alerts blasted at frequencies proven to induce stress and disorientation. The modern world has mastered what ancient shamans already knew. If you control the tone, you control the state of mind. And if you control enough minds, you control a population. This isn't science fiction. It's behavioral conditioning through sonic manipulation. It's happening right now, every time you walk through a store playing background music selected not to entertain, but to influence buying patterns. Every time you listen to a pop song, engineered to loop endlessly in your head. Every time your digital life pings, dings, and vibrates in rhythm with a system designed to extract your energy, your time, your attention. But there's another layer. The frequencies you don't hear, the ones below or above human auditory range, can still be felt by the body. Ultra-low frequency waves have been tested in psychological warfare and crowd control. ELF, extremely low frequency, pulses can influence emotion and create disorientation. You may not hear them, but your body responds. You may not notice them, but your subconscious adjusts. And you begin to confuse agitation for intuition, fear for gut instinct, fatigue for depression. You begin to mistake your programmed state for your natural one. This is how they tune you, not with overt force, but with constant, subtle interference. Not with chains, but with static. You've been listening to noise your entire life, and it's kept you from hearing yourself, from hearing the natural rhythm of your own being. But the good news is this: once you start to listen differently, everything begins to shift. Awareness is the first retuning. And when you understand how deeply you've been shaped by sound, you begin to ask a powerful question: what happens when I choose the frequency? Sound has always been more than entertainment. It's an operating system, a tool of transformation, and a code for consciousness. But they don't teach you that in school. You're taught to see music as art, sound as background, noise as nuisance. What they don't teach you is that harmonics, the structure of sound, may be the most powerful and overlooked force in shaping human awareness. Not metaphorically, literally. Harmonics don't just enter your ears. They alter your brainwaves, your nervous system, your cellular activity. They can heal, or they can harm. They can unlock dormant capacities of perception, or they can dull your mind into passive acceptance. It all depends on the intention and the structure behind the sound. You see, every sound is made of frequencies, but not all frequencies are equal. Some resonate with natural laws, like the golden ratio or the Fibonacci sequence. These are harmonic tones, the kind found in nature, in the cosmos, in the resonance of the earth itself. Ancient civilizations knew this. They used harmonics not just for music, but for consciousness. Temples were designed with precise acoustic resonance. Sacred chants weren't just spiritual, they were sonic codes. Frequencies that aligned the body and spirit with the earth, with the stars, with the deeper layers of self that modern science still struggles to map. These weren't superstitions, they were technologies. Technologies of the mind, of the soul. Harmonics have the power to induce trance, to stimulate intuition, to unlock expanded states of awareness. Binaural beats, for example, use slightly different tones in each ear to guide your brain into theta or delta states, where your default consciousness dissolves and you tap into subconscious memory, creative flow, and interdimensional access. This isn't speculation. It's measurable. It's observable. The problem is, those who control the mainstream narrative have little interest in teaching people how to access higher states. They don't benefit from your expansion. They benefit from your distraction. When your harmonic environment is chaotic, dissonant, and off-tune, your inner world mirrors that. You become anxious, unfocused, reactive. And that state is not a coincidence. It's the perfect condition for manipulation. A distracted mind is a programmable mind. But when you start exposing yourself to pure harmonic structures, natural frequencies that resonate with the earth, your brain, your heart, you begin to remember something ancient. You begin to feel a clarity that's not being given to you from the outside, but revealed from within. Most people don't realize how much their baseline consciousness is dictated by their sonic environment. You don't even notice it, because you've never truly experienced silence. Not real silence. Not the kind where the internal static settles and the real frequency of your being emerges. We live in a world so saturated with artificial noise that our internal compass is constantly distorted. That gut feeling you can't trust? It's not that it's broken, it's that it's been drowned out. When you start tuning your body and your environment with harmonics, pure, intentional tones, you begin to clear the interference. You begin to recalibrate. That recalibration is the key to unlocking something far more powerful than most people imagine, because the human mind isn't just a receiver of sound, it's a resonator. When exposed to certain harmonic patterns, it doesn't just relax or focus. It shifts, it transforms. There are tones that align the hemispheres of the brain, activate the pineal gland, stimulate emotional release, and generate clarity so profound it feels like stepping into another world. Not because sound is magic, but because sound is math, and math is the language of reality. You've probably felt it before, even if you didn't have the language for it. That moment when a song gives you chills, when a chant makes the room feel still, when a tone seems to vibrate through your spine, making you feel more like yourself than you have in years. That's not entertainment. That's entrainment. Your body knows what truth sounds like. Your cells remember harmony. Your consciousness remembers the codes. It's not that you're broken or blocked, it's that you've been mistuned. And when you begin to retune, something shifts. Not just emotionally, but perceptually. You begin to notice things. You hear beyond the surface. You sense the emotion behind words, the meaning behind silence. You start to feel that there's something underneath reality, vibrating behind the veil, something ancient, something intelligent, something waiting to be remembered. And it doesn't speak in language, it speaks in frequency. And the only question is, are you finally ready to listen? You've been taught to think of reality as solid, tangible, made of matter and logic, and things you can touch. But what if the physical world, what you see, what you stand on, what you call real, isn't as solid as you believe? What if it's just vibration, held in place by frequency? Because that's exactly what the science of cymatics reveals. When sound is passed through a medium, water, sand, even air, it organizes that substance into patterns, perfect patterns, geometric forms that mirror the very structure of life. The shapes you see in shells, in snowflakes, in the petals of a flower. These aren't random, they're frequency made visible. Sound creates form. Vibration structures matter. That's not poetry, that's physics. In the laboratory, it's undeniable. Play a tone through a metal plate covered in fine sand, and the sand dances. It moves, it arranges, it becomes geometry, sharp, ordered, intelligent shapes, each one unique to the frequency used. Change the tone, and the pattern dissolves, reforms, re-emerges as something entirely new. What you're witnessing is a language, a hidden syntax of reality, a vibrational blueprint shaping the material world. If invisible sound can move matter into form, what else is it shaping? Now, pause for a second. Imagine that your own body, your bones, your organs, your brain, is made of water and vibration-sensitive tissue. What do you think happens when it's exposed to dissonance, to distortion, or to harmony? This isn't abstract. Your cells respond to frequency. Your brain responds to frequency. Your DNA, your very code, is influenced by the vibrational environment you live in. That's why chronic exposure to unnatural tones, chaotic noise, and non-resonant environments leads to imbalance, not just emotionally, but physically. The architecture of your body is being influenced in real time, whether you're conscious of it or not. Think about the implications. If vibration shapes matter, then everything from your mood to your health to your thoughts could be reflections of a frequency field. You're not just existing inside reality, you're participating in it, broadcasting into it, tuning it as you go. This means the chaos you see in the world isn't random. It's a byproduct of collective dissonance. Societies built on unnatural rhythms, disconnected from natural resonance, become unstable. That instability spreads through cities, through screens, through minds. But there's a flip side. Just as dissonance breeds chaos, harmony invites coherence. When environments are tuned to natural frequencies, like the Schumann resonance of the Earth, something strange happens. People relax, blood pressure lowers, creativity increases, thoughts slow down, sleep deepens, the nervous system remembers its original rhythm. This isn't some spiritual fantasy. It's measurable, it's reproducible, and it's been buried. Why don't we build schools, offices, and cities tuned to coherence? Why aren't hospitals filled with frequencies that promote healing? Why is the public space saturated with buzz, static, and noise instead of tones proven to harmonize the body and mind? You already know the answer. Harmony doesn't serve the machine. Clarity doesn't serve the system. A society attuned to itself begins to ask better questions. It begins to feel again, to think clearly, to resist. Cymatics proves that sound is not entertainment. It's architecture. The world around you is being shaped by the vibrations within it. And if sound can build a pattern, it can just as easily destroy one. That's why propaganda, sonic weapons, and even dissonant music are more than psychological. They're structural. They shift the pattern of your reality, break the coherence in your field, and leave you vulnerable to influence. When your inner geometry is fractured, you're more likely to accept things that don't make sense. You start to doubt your intuition. You seek validation externally. You become more reactive, less grounded, easier to manipulate. But when you begin to live in alignment with harmonic principles, when your inner frequencies start to stabilize, you start to remember what balance feels like. Not just emotionally, but physically, energetically. Your perception shifts. The world feels different. Because it is. You're not changing the content of your life. You're changing its frequency. And when the frequency changes, the structure follows. That's the hidden key. Change the tone, and the form must follow. It always has. There's a strange kind of danger in the things we don't notice, especially when they're designed that way. Most people think mind control is loud, obvious, aggressive, overt. But the most effective control is silent, invisible, wrapped in comfort and convenience. It doesn't scream, it hums. It vibrates just below your awareness, adjusting your mood, your thoughts, your impulses, until you start calling the manipulation your own idea. This is the world of frequency-based control, and it's already here. You're told to fear propaganda, but not the tones hidden in your devices. Not the silent pulses embedded in your technology, not the ultra-low frequencies that bypass the logical mind and speak directly to your biology. But governments have studied this for decades. Military documents, long buried in classified files, confirm it. Frequencies can influence human behavior without a single word being spoken. We're not talking about metaphor here. We're talking about real-world, tested applications. Frequencies that can make you feel anxious without a reason. Tones that can shift your brainwave state into confusion, fatigue, even despair. Weapons that can make a crowd scatter without a single bullet. All with sound, most of which you'll never hear. And still, you're surrounded by it. You walk into buildings flooded with Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, 5G, all operating in frequencies proven to interfere with cellular function. You put a phone to your ear that emits radiation while also blasting you with engineered notification tones and digital noise. You wear headphones pumping music that was mixed at frequencies chosen for marketability, not mental clarity. Then you wonder why you feel drained, restless, disconnected. This isn't just tech addiction, it's entrainment, and you've been inside it your whole life. It's not just your devices. Look deeper. Think about the design of modern cities, the mechanical whir of public transport, the low hums of electrical grids, the subtle buzzing of fluorescent lighting. These aren't just background sounds. They create a frequency field, a vibrational environment that your body is always interacting with. These vibrations don't need to be loud to be effective. In fact, they're more dangerous when they're not. Because when you can't hear them, you don't question them. And when you don't question them, they work freely. We're not taught to protect our vibrational field. We're taught to ignore it, to drown it out with more noise, more stimulation, more distraction. But the body knows. The nervous system keeps the score. Chronic stress, adrenal fatigue, panic without cause. Sometimes these aren't coming from inside you, but from the frequencies you're immersed in. Your anxiety may not be psychological. It may be environmental, a reaction to a world that is, quite literally, out of tune. This is where it gets deeper, because the same principles that can induce agitation can also induce passivity. Frequencies can pacify as effectively as they can provoke. They can lull you into docility, lower your critical thinking, keep you comfortably numb. Ever wonder why you feel sleepy after hours of scrolling through mindless content, but still unable to sleep at night? Your brain has been tuned to confusion. Your rhythm has been fragmented. That's not accidental. That's systemic. And then there's media, not the content, the frequency. News broadcasts often use soundtracks embedded with low-frequency drones. These are designed to heighten tension. You think it's the headlines making you anxious? Often, it's the background hum, psychological manipulation layered into the sensory environment. It's not just what you hear, it's how your body interprets what you don't. That's where the real programming happens. This is the secret most never realize. Your body is listening even when you're not. Your cells respond to vibration whether or not you believe in it. Your subconscious registers tones you'll never consciously perceive. And the people who understand this, governments, corporations, media architects, they've built entire systems around it. Systems of control, systems of influence. Systems designed not to inform you, but to override you. Slowly, repetitively, quietly. But here's what they don't expect. Awareness disrupts the signal. Once you start noticing the vibration, you begin to separate your true thoughts from the implanted ones. You begin to ask, is this emotion even mine? Is this fear real? Or is it a frequency loop I've been stuck in? That kind of awareness is dangerous to systems built on obedience, because it's the beginning of self-tuning. And when you begin to choose your own frequency, you become impossible to control. You've been told that reality is fixed, that what you can see, hear, and touch is all there is. But that's a lie dressed up as science. The truth is, your perception of reality is just a narrow frequency band, a sliver of a much larger spectrum. Like a radio stuck on one station, your awareness has been locked into a limited broadcast. But reality isn't one channel. It's an entire orchestra of dimensions, timelines, and fields of consciousness. And vibration, frequency, is the dial. The ancients knew this long before modern science caught up. They spoke of sound as a gateway to the gods, a bridge between the physical and the divine. Sacred chants, mantras, and tones weren't just rituals, they were tools, keys. When used with precision, they didn't just calm the mind, they altered it. They opened doors, changed states, tuned consciousness to higher planes of awareness, not metaphorically, literally. The human body, particularly the brain and heart, responds to these frequencies like a lock responding to the right code. And once tuned, you don't just feel different, you perceive different. You step out of the illusion of solidity and glimpse the truth behind the veil. You've probably experienced flashes of it. That feeling during deep meditation or sound healing, when the boundaries of self dissolve. That moment of silence so complete, it feels like space itself is breathing. Or the vibration in your chest when a specific tone hits and something unexplainable shifts. These aren't accidents, they're resonance. You're not hallucinating, you're aligning. You're syncing with frequencies that exist outside the normal range of societal awareness. And with that alignment comes access. Not access in the material sense, but to perception, knowledge, even dimensions that don't conform to physical laws. We've been told to dismiss this as mysticism, but the science is catching up. Brain scans show that certain frequencies activate regions associated with intuition, memory retrieval, and non-local awareness. The pineal gland, the so-called third eye, is highly sensitive to vibration. It contains piezoelectric crystals that respond to pressure and frequency, which means, under the right conditions, it can act as a resonator, a biological antenna capable of picking up information far beyond the five senses. What the mystics called visions, downloads, and interdimensional travel might not be fantasy. They might be physiology, a technology built into the body, buried under noise. But that noise is no accident. The constant saturation of meaningless frequencies keeps the signal weak. It drowns out the deeper tones, the ones that could realign you, connect you, wake you up. Because if enough people started tuning into that signal, into the real broadcast, the system would fracture. Because this isn't just about personal awakening. It's about the map that lies just beneath what we call reality. A map made of frequency, a blueprint hidden in sound. There are stories of people entering altered states through toning, chanting, sound immersion, only to return with insights, innovations, even visions of other timelines. And while mainstream science brushes it off, military black programs have long invested in researching these possibilities. Remote viewing, ESP, accessing information across time and space, all linked to vibrational modulation, not magic, not miracles, mechanics, misunderstood, suppressed, or deliberately buried. Imagine being able to enter a frequency where time collapses, where your consciousness steps outside the script, where you remember things you were never taught, where you see the pattern behind events before they unfold. That kind of perception changes everything. It's not that the future is set, it's that vibration gives you access to probabilities. Higher states of consciousness aren't just a feeling, they're a view. They let you see the scaffolding behind the illusion. But this kind of access doesn't come by chance. It requires intentional tuning. It requires stillness. It requires learning how to listen, not just with your ears, but with your entire being. You are an instrument. You've always been one. And like any instrument, if you've been out of tune long enough, you forget what true harmony feels like. But harmony is your original state, your true setting. And when you begin to resonate at your natural frequency, you begin to sync with the larger cosmic rhythm. You begin to pick up on the frequencies the system tried to hide from you. This isn't philosophy, it's architecture. The universe doesn't speak in words, it speaks in vibration. And when you start listening at the right level, you don't just hear it, you join it. That's where access begins. That's where reality bends. Not because you escaped the matrix, but because you learned how to tune beyond it. There was a time when you didn't need apps, meditations, or healing playlists to feel balanced. You just needed to be outside, bare feet on the ground, sky above, silence. Not the silence of absence, but the silence of presence, the kind that hums, that breathes, that restores. That silence had a frequency. It still does. The earth pulses at 783 hertz, the Schumann resonance, a natural electromagnetic rhythm that humans evolved with, that your brainwaves respond to, that your body remembers. It's the frequency of rest, regeneration, deep awareness, the kind of state where your nervous system recalibrates without effort, the kind of state where clarity returns and noise recedes. But for most people today, that signal is gone, not because it disappeared, but because it was buried. Cities are built on concrete and asphalt, insulating you from Earth's field. The air is filled with electrical signals, Wi-Fi, 5G, EMF towers, broadcasting energy across hundreds of frequencies, none of them in sync with the natural world. And the background noise, it never stops. From traffic to industrial hums, buzzing lights to synthetic soundscapes, you live in an environment where your biology is constantly under siege. It's not loud enough to notice, but it's always there, pulling you out of alignment, keeping you a few degrees off center. And over time, those few degrees become a complete disconnect. You might call it burnout, brain fog, fatigue, anxiety. But underneath all of it is a deeper truth. You've been disconnected from the signal you were designed to live in. The same way a plant withers without sunlight, The human body withers without harmony, without resonance. And that's no accident, because when you're attuned to nature, you become aware of rhythm. And when you become aware of rhythm, you begin to notice when something feels off, when a frequency doesn't belong, when a signal is artificial. That kind of awareness is dangerous in a world engineered to keep you distracted. Think about the last time you truly felt grounded. Not calm, not relaxed, grounded, present in your body, connected to your instincts, tuned into something older than thought. That feeling wasn't produced by a supplement or a motivational quote. It was resonance, a brief return to your natural setting. And it's not a luxury, it's your birthright. But the system profits when you're out of sync, because when you're out of sync, you seek solutions. You look outward, you consume, you numb. You become dependent on fixes for a problem that starts in the vibrational environment around you. The human body is an antenna, and nature is the original broadcast. Trees, rivers, insects, wind, each emits its own frequency. Together, they form a living orchestra that we were meant to exist within. That soundscape doesn't just soothe, it restores, and it doesn't cost anything. That's why it had to be replaced. Because nature's frequency heals without profit, aligns without prescription, awakens without permission. And in a world built on control, that kind of power had to be drowned out. So they replaced it. They filled your ears with synthetic sound. They paved over the earth's signal. They put walls between you and the frequencies that kept you coherent, and they made you forget. Not just what it felt like, but that it ever existed. Now people sit under artificial lights, surrounded by electromagnetic noise, scrolling through devices that exhaust their attention, wondering why they can't concentrate or sleep or feel joy. The body is trying to tune into a station that no longer exists in their environment. That's not failure, that's interference. But the signal hasn't gone anywhere. It's still there, beneath the static, beneath the distortion, beneath the noise. And the moment you step away from it all, even for a moment, you start to feel it. In the stillness of a forest, in the rhythm of ocean waves, in the quiet hum of night away from the machines. It's subtle at first, then unmistakable. That's resonance. That's the earth reminding you who you are. Not a consumer, not a user, not a cog. A tuned being in a vibrational system far more intelligent than anything artificial. You were never meant to live out of harmony. The chaos you feel inside isn't yours. It's a response to an environment that was built to keep you off balance. But balance is waiting. The earth hasn't stopped singing. You've just been surrounded by louder songs. All you have to do is remember how to listen again. Because once you do, the tuning begins. And from there, nothing sounds the same. They've spent your whole life telling you that change is external. That if you want to feel different, you need to buy something, earn something, chase something. But here's the truth they never wanted you to discover. The most powerful shift you can make doesn't come from adding anything. It comes from tuning, because your reality isn't just a set of circumstances. It's a frequency. And the moment you change that frequency, everything begins to shift. Not just how you feel, but how the world responds to you. You've been trained to look outward, but all along the power was inward, in your field, in your resonance. Start small. Begin with sound. Not just music, but intentional frequency. Solfeggio tones, 432 Hz, binaural beats. Ancient chants that weren't written to entertain, they were encoded to realign. These sounds bypass the noise and speak directly to the nervous system, to the subconscious, to the core of who you are. And you'll feel it, not as a mood, but as a remembering. Because you're not adding something new, you're stripping away the distortion. Every pure tone is a mirror, reflecting back a version of you that hasn't been tampered with. The breath is another key. Most people breathe to survive, not to attune. But the breath is vibration. It's rhythm. And when you sync it with sound, intention, and stillness, it becomes a tuner. Breathwork is more than stress relief. It's access. It changes your internal frequency. It grounds your energy. It opens space where noise used to live. And in that space, you start to hear yourself again. Not the thoughts, not the fears, the real self, the one that remembers how this all works. But the most important shift isn't just what you do, it's what you allow. Silence, especially in a world like this, is an act of rebellion. It's where integration happens. It's where the system can't reach you. Turn off the feeds. Mute the static. Let your internal rhythm emerge without external interference. That silence is not empty. It's full of information. And the more you sit with it, the more you begin to discern the difference between who you are and what you've absorbed. The clutter clears, the signal sharpens, and suddenly, choices become obvious. You start gravitating toward what aligns. Conversations, foods, people, places, they all carry frequency. And once you're tuned in, you'll feel when something's off. You'll stop forcing what doesn't resonate, because your system won't tolerate it anymore. This isn't spiritual theory, it's biological clarity. A regulated nervous system, an aligned frequency, a coherent field. These aren't soft ideas. They're structural. They determine how you process reality. And they determine what reality reflects back. You don't just feel better when you retune. You attract differently. You respond differently. You begin creating from resonance instead of reaction. And in that state, the chaos of the world loses its grip. You stop being food for the machine. Because that's what you've been. Not intentionally, maybe, but energetically. Every time you operate from fear, from distortion, from dissonance, you're feeding the very system you want to escape. That's why self-regulation is so threatening to the architecture of control. Because when you're in alignment, you're unpredictable. You can't be triggered. You can't be bought. You're no longer vibrating at the frequency of manipulation, and that makes you dangerous. That makes you free. Freedom isn't rebellion, it's resonance. And the more you live from your true frequency, the more you liberate others without even trying. Your energy becomes a tuning fork. People feel calmer around you. Clearer, less reactive. That's not charisma, that's coherence. And it spreads, like sound, like light, like truth. So start with your space. What are the tones you hear every day? The songs you play, the voices you allow in, the shows you absorb. Do they sharpen your frequency or distort it? Start with your habits. Do they align your field or scatter it? Do they bring you into rhythm or break you out of it? You don't need to change everything overnight. You just need to start listening. Start choosing resonance over noise, intuition over obligation, stillness over stimulation. That's the revolution. Quiet, internal, powerful. No slogans, no hashtags, just vibration. Realign. And once it starts, it doesn't stop. Your body remembers. Your mind softens. Your awareness expands. You return to something so familiar, it almost feels like home. Because it is. Because it always was. The static was just keeping you from hearing it. You've been told you're just one person, that your thoughts don't ripple, that your energy begins and ends with you. But that's not how frequency works. Resonance doesn't stay contained, it spreads. One tuning fork can set another in motion without touching it. One coherent field can stabilize a chaotic one. This isn't philosophy, it's physics. And it's why your personal awakening is more powerful than you realize. Because when people start to retune, not just as individuals, but together, something profound begins to happen. The system cracks, not from protest, from coherence. Coherence is a threat because it can't be predicted. The system thrives on emotional volatility, on divided minds, on fear and noise. But when a group of people start operating in aligned frequency, grounded, clear, awake, they stop reacting the way they're supposed to. They stop believing the narratives. They stop buying the distractions. They stop fighting each other. And when that happens, the machine loses traction. It begins to stall, because it was never built to handle humans who are fully present. They want you fragmented, That's why everything in your environment is designed to split your attention, scramble your nervous system, and pull you out of rhythm. That's why media floods your mind with anxiety loops. That's why social platforms thrive on outrage. Division isn't just political, it's vibrational. And once you see that, you understand how subversive it is to be still, to be aware, to choose your frequency instead of absorbing theirs. You've probably felt it before. That sense when you're around someone whose energy feels different. Not louder, not flashier, just centered, grounded, clear. You feel safer, calmer, more honest in their presence. That's not charisma, that's entrainment. Your field is syncing to theirs. And if one person can affect you like that, imagine what happens when entire communities begin to harmonize. This is the part they can't control, because you can't outlaw resonance, you can't ban coherence, you can't regulate frequency. It spreads silently, invisibly, through presence, through intention, through the quiet refusal to participate in dysfunction. And that's where the system starts to break, not with violence, but with vibration. Not by tearing down walls, but by building fields that make those walls irrelevant. You don't need a revolution, you need a retuning. You need to remember that the most powerful transmission you carry is your own state, not your words, not your opinions, your frequency. When enough people carry that awareness, the field shifts. And when the field shifts, reality bends. Systems built on control begin to glitch. Narratives lose their grip. Fear loses its magnetism. But here's the catch. They're not going to warn you when it happens. They won't say, "Here it is, the moment we're losing control." It will look like systems failing, like structures crumbling, like people suddenly waking up and refusing to comply. They'll call it chaos. But it's not chaos. It's resonance reasserting itself, the natural order returning, the sound of truth dissolving the artificial signal. So ask yourself, what kind of frequency are you broadcasting? Are you repeating static or radiating clarity? Are you adding to the noise or tuning it out? This is where your real power lives, not in controlling others, but in becoming untouchable to their control. Because a coherent human can't be owned, can't be programmed, can't be distracted from the signal that matters. And when enough of us remember that, the world won't need saving. It will simply reorganize itself around a new tone, one that was always there, one that was always waiting. It was never about finding something new. It was about remembering something ancient, something that's been inside you since the beginning, buried under distraction, noise, and conditioning. Vibration isn't just the secret to the universe. It is the universe. It's the code behind every pattern, every emotion, every moment of clarity you've ever felt but couldn't explain. And now that you've started to see it, you can't unsee it. You've heard the signal beneath the static, and that signal was never foreign. It was familiar. It was home. You were never meant to walk around disconnected, confused, half asleep. You were built to tune in, to harmonize with the world, with each other, with yourself. That's why dissonance feels so heavy. That's why silence feels so rare. It's not just modern life that overwhelms you, it's a life out of sync. Everything you are, your body, your mind, your breath, is designed to operate in resonance. You were created to remember, not just to survive. But you've been surrounded by systems that profit from your forgetfulness. And you've paid for it, not in money, but in energy, in clarity, in the deep, quiet knowing that you were always more than what they told you. But you've begun to remember. You've felt it now. The shift, the pull, the rising hum that tells you there's something real beneath the illusion. And that knowing changes everything. Because once you realize that vibration is the foundation, you stop chasing surface-level fixes. You stop asking for permission to feel good, to heal, to be whole. You stop outsourcing your power to people who never had your best interest in mind. Instead, you turn inward, you tune, you realign. And with that, your reality begins to echo something entirely new. The world doesn't change because you fight it. It changes because you stop vibrating in response to its chaos. You create new patterns through presence, through coherence, through frequency. This is how revolutions really happen, not on screens, not in headlines, but in the unseen, in the way people begin to carry themselves differently, in the choices they make, in the moments they stop reacting and start resonating. This isn't about escaping the world, it's about rewriting it, tone by tone, choice by choice. Because every time you shift your frequency, you shift the field around you. And that ripple reaches farther than you'll ever know. It lands in places you'll never see. It awakens people you'll never meet. That's the nature of vibration. It doesn't ask for attention. It just moves. Quiet, precise, relentless. You're not here to be perfect. You're here to be in tune. And tuning is messy. It's not linear. It's not easy. But it's worth everything. Because the closer you get to your original frequency, the less room there is for lies, for fear, for anything that doesn't resonate with your truth. That's the real protection. That's the real power. Not in walls, not in weapons, but in frequency. Pure, grounded, aligned. And when you live from that place, you become unshakable. The chaos might still be there, but it no longer defines you. The noise might still play, but you no longer dance to it. You become the tone others remember themselves by. You become the proof that something else is possible, something older than control, something louder than fear, something that was never really gone, just buried. You are the instrument, and the song is ready. If you've made it this far, you already know the truth runs deeper than what's shown here. Join Insights Academy below and receive a free copy of the Kabbalion, because missing this would mean staying out of sync with the truth. If this video resonated with you, let us know by commenting, "I understood it,"